Now we're being joined by Inside Indiana's Ken Bykoff. And Ken, to my mind, you are the foremost expert on the history of the athletic facilities at Indiana University. And I want to take maybe a trip down memory lane for a lot of our fans. First off, Assembly Hall's got an interesting backstory on how and why it was constructed, the unique way that it was.
Yeah, it was all designed off of the North Carolina cattle auction facility at Dorton Arena, which still exists. And it is designed so that basically you have two seating areas to a center theater, and it goes, if you notice that Memorial Stadium and Assembly Hall, they're built off the same design, to where there's, for the seating, it just comes up in kind of a U shape so that everybody rises up to see the same theater. And they like the design. That was something that they put together. And the arches, the famous arches that make the top of Assembly Hall, again, it's to support a roof and be able to hold up on wires and hold down the weight of the roof, and hold that up and make it just a facility that has a lot of wide open spaces, has a lot of seating, but also doesn't require any kind of posts or anything to obstruct viewing.
Look at that. Now, the old field house, we're going to talk about some updates that have been made at the old Hyper building a little bit later on in this program. But the old field house is a venue that a lot of Indiana basketball fans have fond memories of.
Yeah, and it's an amazing building in and of itself. That the men's gymnasium that's there, and also Wildermuth Fieldhouse, now the old field house, which a lot of people just call the field house. It is Indiana played football on its footprint for 1 year in 1924 when there was a delay in the construction of the original Memorial Stadium. Jordan Field had already been moved on from a football facility. They played a season in 1924 on it. Then they build the field house. They connect it to the gymnasium. And it's still to this day, you could see some of the windows inside the gymnasium rain staining from it, the rust stains coming off of the window frames, because at one point part of that building was outside and now it's inside. From a basketball standpoint, it was a place that people still remember very, very fondly. It was a field house. There was a lot of wide open spaces. The floor was lifted about 3 feet off the ground. Players had to run down and go up a set of stairs to get onto the court. The entire place was surrounded by a net as well, so that if any balls or any players would go skidding towards the edge, they would be caught by the net. There was a heck of a drop-off that went down onto sawdust that was there, and they would have to fill up, take the bleachers in and out depending on what season it was, because they needed the bleachers at football, they needed them at the field house. The field house was also used for things like registration at the time. And so it was used for a lot of different purposes, but the key was that for basketball, it was still a loud venue. It was a place that people struggled to come to and win, and that's why some of those Branch McCracken teams were very, very successful.
You're somebody who's a facility file, and you look at what has happened with some of the facilities that Indiana Athletics has constructed over the course of its history and their bizarre backstories. And they might not be ideal venues, but you look at the baseball softball complex, Indiana got this one right.
Oh, they absolutely did, and it is far, far overdue. Sembauer Field, God bless it, but it was not up to the standards of a Big Ten facility. Now Indiana has something it really, really can be proud of. I mean, you look at all the advantages of Bloomington being where it is, southernmost Big Ten campus. You would think that they'd be able to get a head start with baseball. They haven't been able to do that. Now, absolutely, they will be able to, especially because the drainage system that they have in underneath the artificial turf is going to allow them to get on that field as soon as possible, earlier in the spring than maybe a lot of other teams. That's a huge positive. And then just from an aesthetic standpoint, it's a beautiful stadium. It's great for fans. The picnic areas that are being developed are really going to be a huge positive. And if Tracy Smith has done as well with that baseball program, playing at Sembauer Field and struggling just from a facility standpoint, he should have a heck of a good time. Plus, when they opened the place and the lights came on during the day, it was the first time Indiana had played a home baseball game under lights in its history.
All right. Well, Ken, thanks so much for joining us.